The time has come to start the meeting to announce the consolidated financial results for the first quarter ended June 30th, 2017 for Hitachi Limited. I would now like to introduce the speakers to you. First of all, Mitsuaki Nishiyama, Senior Vice President and Executive Officer, CFO. Tomomi Kato, Deputy General Manager of the Financial Strategy Division. Ken Mizoguchi, Executive General Manager of the Corporate Brand and Communications Division. The outline of the results will be presented by Nishiyama. Mr. Nishiyama, please. Please refer to the PowerPoint presentation materials that have been distributed to you. Please refer to 1-2. This is the consolidated statement of profit or loss. For 2017 first quarter is shown here in the middle. In terms of revenues, was 2,088.6 billion yen. That is a decline of 41.7 billion yen, or 2% decline year over year. This is because of Hitachi Transport, Hitachi Capital, and Hitachi Koki portfolio had been subject to reorganization, having an impact. And if we exclude this and the foreign exchange, it was increased by 6%. In terms of the adjusted operating income ratio, came in at 131.8 billion yen compared to the previous year. Because of the reorganization of the portfolio, it was absorbed and it was increased by 40.3 billion yen. EBIT was 143.2 billion yen. At the very bottom, we have the net income attributable to Hitachi Limited stockholders at 75 billion yen. Compared to previous year, increase by 18.6 billion or 33%. In terms of the 6.3% and 131.8 billion yen adjusted operating income was the highest ever record for our company. Please refer to 1-3. These are the factors affecting the changes in revenues and adjusted operating income year over year. Left-hand side is revenues. First quarter fiscal year 2016 is a start. And you can see the arrows for downward, which is 170 billion in terms of impact of reorganization, which was the negative factor. Foreign exchange was a positive 13 billion yen. And business scale expansion to the tune of 115.3 billion yen growth was achieved. In this, Hitachi Construction, Hitachi Chemicals, M&A are also included, which is 37 billion yen. And the remainder organic growth was 78.3 billion yen. Right-hand side is the waterfall chart for operating income. The downward decline was 15 billion, impacts of reorganization. Foreign exchange was a positive impact of 2 billion yen. Profitability improvement, 53.3 billion yen. A positive impact was recorded. M&A of Hitachi Construction and Hitachi Chemical, M&A 3 billion contribution has been made. And the organic improvement was 53.3 billion in terms of profitability improvement. Please look at 1-4, revenues by market. For Japan, 93% year over year, there was a decline. But outside Japan, what recorded 103%. Total is 98%. Year over year. Portfolio reorganization as well as foreign exchange impact can be excluded from this. Japan was 101%. As a result, outside Japan at the level of 110%. Significant growth is shown in China and other ASEAN, Indian and other Asian countries. China was driven by automotive system as well as Hitachi Construction has increased and at the level of 113%. Asia 112%. Hitachi High Technologies, Hitachi High Tech, and Hitachi Kokusai grew businesses in these regions. Next page, please. 1-5. This is the consolidated financial position as well as the cash flow statement. The summaries thereof are presented here. At the very top, total assets was hardly any change from last year, 9,691.4 billion yen. The third line from the bottom is cash conversion cycle, 67.9 days. Compared to the previous term, a decrease of 4.3 days have been recorded. The budget was 73, assumed at 73 days. Therefore, improvement of 5 days was achieved. And the equity stockholders' equity ratio was 31.1%, a 0.4 point increase. Debt equity ratio is 0.3 times flat. Cash flow is shown at the bottom. Free cash flows, or rather, from operating activities was 126.9 billion yen. Cash flow from investing activities increased by 85 billion. Expenditures have increased because of Hitachi transport systems and Bradken TOB expenditures have had impact. Expenditures have increased in this area. But in terms of free cash flow, we have achieved 22.3 billion yen in terms of black ink. Now, moving on to the next page.
1.7 is also by business segment. At the very top, well, the other segment, because of restructuring of Hitachi Transport, there's a decline. For financial services segment, because of Hitachi Capital's turning into equity method associate, the numbers not included. And so for those decreases, but for other 7 segments, we saw an increase across the board. First, information and telecommunication systems. Storage and domestic ATM sales were down, but domestically, system integration business continued to be robust, and we had sales about the same year on year. And operating income, structural reform continued for IT products. Business and effect became prevalent, and with increased profitability of SI business in Japan, plus 14.9 billion yen increase year on year. For social infrastructure and industrial systems, for revenues were down slightly. The railway system in the UK increased in sales, but there were some negative factors reducing sales. Withdrawal from low profitable business in industry and distribution fields. So we are increasing our focus. And in oil and gas, so oil price is down. So oil price being low in industrial products business has had an impact. It's a reduction by 1% year on year. And in terms of operating income, withdrawal from low profitable business in industry and distribution field, profitability improvement in industrial products business, and profit increase in railway systems business. These are positive factors leading to 9 billion yen improvement year on year. And electronic systems and equipment, it was 96% of last year, so 4% reduction year on year. Hitachi construction machinery sales was a factor. Hitachi High Technologies and Hitachi Kokusai Electric, these subsidiaries, semiconductor sales is up, but because of review of the portfolio for the segment, revenue was down 4% year on year. For the operating income, Hitachi Kokusai or Hitachi construction machinery sale did have an impact, but Hitachi Cookies impact was there because of deconsolidation. And next, construction machinery. Hitachi Koki China's sales increase, and Bracken and HE Parts. These were turned into consolidated subsidiaries. Contribution by M&A, so 131% to the previous year, up 31% year on year. with increased revenue, operating income was up 14.3 billion year-on-year. Turning to the next page, slide 1-8, high functional materials and components. Now, the sales or revenues for both Hitachi Koki, Hitachi Chemical, sales increase in electronics and automotive-related products were posted. An acquisition of VM Energy Technology by Hitachi Chemical was performed. Because of that, 12% increase year-on-year. Now, with increased revenues, so operating income was up by 3.7 billion year-on-year. Next, automotive systems, China and Japan. Sales increased, and because of that, increase of 5% year-on-year in revenues. And with that, 3.1 billion yen increase year-on-year in the operating income. Now moving on to 1-9, smart life and eco-friendly systems. It was 94% of the previous year. In overseas, Southeast Asia, business was sluggish because of irregular weather. In the first quarter, sales were sluggish in Southeast Asia, and because of that and others, down 6% year-on-year. And cost reduction is being pursued in the operating income, so increase of 1.4 billion in operating income year-on-year. And others and financial services, Hitachi Transport System was reorganized. And for financial services, Hitachi Capital was reorganized. Because of these reorganizations, these two segments, others and financial services, were down. Now moving on to the next page, 1-10, there are several topics I would like to cover. First, regarding the Lumada business, the progress thereof. We have been showing this in terms of revenues. In the first quarter, the middle column, Lumada business revenues totaled 204 billion yen in the first quarter. In terms of progress rate, the forecast overall is 950 billion. So first quarter sales, in terms of progress rate, was 21.5%. Our plan was a little under 20%, so we were able to exceed the plan. Now, another topic that I would like to mention is acquisition of Saluair. In the first quarter, the performance is not yet reflected, but in the second quarter, July 12th, we completed the acquisition of Saluair. Saluair's distribution network will be leveraged to drive the air compressor business going forward. Air compressor business in 2018, in terms of sales, we would like to achieve 100 billion yen in sales. And in terms of synergies, in the industrial area, we would like to achieve synergies. So we established the Industrial Equipment Management Division on August 1st to generate further synergies. Next, moving on to slide 2-1, outlook for fiscal year 2017. Second quarter and onward, the exchange rate is set at 110 yen to the US dollar, which is unchanged. And as of May, the exchange rate for the euro was set at 115. It's now revised to 120 yen to the euro. But for the overall forecast, we believe that we had quite good numbers in the first quarter. Inclusive of the outlook for the segments, we have not changed the outlook or the forecast since the last time. Up until the second quarter, we forecast that a quite favorable environment will continue, but in the second half, it's hard to predict. So we will leave the numbers unchanged. Uncertainties still linger in the world. Under those circumstances, we would like to drive Lumada business and improve profitability to achieve improved profitability and capital efficiency as well as asset efficiency. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
はい、では続きまして質疑応答。
Thank you very much. We would now like to open the floor for Q&A. Please wait for the microphone to be brought to you and state your name and affiliation before asking your question. The floor is now open. Question. Now, during the last meeting, Horizon was also mentioned in your explanation. With respect to Horizon, part of your shareholdings are to be sold to other companies. I believe that you have mentioned this. Please give us an update. Answer. Now, we are looking for investors to invest into this project. We have been discussing this with various parties so far. Power companies as well as other companies have shown interest in making investment already. However, it isn't as if we can give you details now. FID in 2019 and then construction is to begin. We believe that we should have a good idea by that time frame. So with the candidate investors, we are engaged in discussions currently. Additional question regarding Horizon business. 5 years ago, acquisition was made. And what kind of value have been generated by this business? What is the value of this business? Answer. It is very difficult to give you a value of this business. But with the Japanese government as well as the British government and stakeholders, and there'll be investors, and we are going to also work out details in terms of financing as well. We are engaged in the consultation as we speak. That is the reason why I cannot give you details at this point in time.
Any other questions? Questions? The first question that I would like to ask is as follows. In the first quarter, adjusted operating income posted a record high number, historically speaking. 630 billion is the annual forecast. And what is the feel that you have for the performance? So are you feeling that your performance is above what was initially forecast? Well, just to give you the internal plan, sales was up by 60 billion compared to our internal plan in the first quarter, and operating income an increase of 20 billion over our plan. And in the first quarter, as Tanaka-san just said, fourth quarter is going to be big, but progress in the first quarter is around 16% in the last 5 years. That's the average. And so if you do the division in view of 630 billion, progress rate is 21% in the first quarter. So we're off to a very, very good start. In relation to that question, in the last term, I think you incorporated risk expenses, and they must still remain. Is that the correct awareness? Answer. The last time, risk buffer, 25 billion in operating income was incorporated. We said EBIT, 70 billion. And euro exposure, forex exposure in dollars. If there's a change in 1 yen to the dollar, then operating income impact would be 2 billion and 1 billion yen in euros. So euro exchange rate assumption is changed by 5 yen. So that's about 5 billion in euro. At the macro level, a risk buffer in operating income is 30 billion. On the basis of EBIT, 75 billion is reflected. Thank you. Question. you said that your annual forecast remains the same, but you're off to a good start. I think that is a tailwind for you. Generally speaking, there are many risks that exist, but any risk that Nishiyama-san is particularly focused on as you strive to achieve your targets? Answer. The global economy and politics. There are so many geopolitical risks that are prevalent around the world. And in terms of our business, we are somewhat concerned about China. Hitachi construction machinery, centering around that business. In the first half, we do believe that our business is going to be quite brisk. But in the second half, how will it evolve? It's rather uncertain, we believe. So overall, our initial forecast at the beginning of the fiscal year will be kept. It remains the same. And in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, we would like to once again review the situation. Question. So there may be some uncertainties, you said. In recent times, have you seen any signs of such uncertainties that would impact your sales or business? Anything particular? Answer. If there's anything, then Hitachi construction machinery business is doing quite well. So the business in China continues to be robust. That will continue into the second quarter. Elevator business, the number of units sold is increasing, but competition is harsh. So cost per unit, price per unit is down because of the intense competition. But the over demand, especially starting from the second half, that will be the key, I think. Question, last but not least, this is a detailed question. Operating income in the first quarter, the margin was 6.3%. Isn't this a record high or not? Answer. Operating income 131.8 billion is a record high, and the margin is also record high. Operating income, the highest we had, 115 billion back in 2016. We exceeded that. In the past, when the margin was highest was 5.2% in 2014. So 6.3% that we're having this time is a record high, actually. Thank you.
Next question, please. Question. SI was very strong in Japan. What was the revenues for this business as well as profit, please? Answer. Let's look at the appendix referring to page 23. It says front business and IT platform and products. The breakdown is given for the information and telecommunication systems. And in the middle, this is the actual for the first quarter. As you can see, the front business was up at 102% year-over-year, increased by 2%. IT platform products, on the other hand, was at the level of 99%. So SI business belongs to the front business in this category, and operating profit margin is not provided here. But compared to a year-on-year basis for front business, for 2016 first quarter was 4.0%. And that increased to 5.7%, improvement made to 5.7%. IT platform and products was embedding the previous year and improved to 6.2%. Because of structural reform efforts that have been very effective, we have been able to improve the profitability. Question regarding the structural reform has driven the growth. What is the reason it was grown? It grew in the products. What about SI? In terms of SI, the revenues has increased by 2%. So if you give you analysis, there is an increase in revenues for one, and the other reason is the project management. Thorough project management has led to the improvement of profitability in this business. Question regarding work style reform related business. Is there an area that is contributing to profitability in this area? Answer. Utilizing our AI technologies, we are trying to make contribution to the work style reform efforts of our customers, as well as enhancing productivity, as well as the indirect divisions of profitability improvement, as well as the call center productivity improvements are areas that we are making contributions. We are providing support and also conducting POCs with the customers, but very difficult to quantify in this area. But at any rate, we will proactively make proposals to customers using Lumada, providing solutions to our customers so that we can contribute to the workstyle reform of our customers, as well as the productivity increase can be realized for our customers. Will continue to do so. Question, you are trying to promote this, expand this. You said that it's difficult to quantify, but when will it be reflected in numbers? Would it be within this fiscal year? What is the timescale in which this is going to be included in numbers? Answer. We are conducting POCs tests currently. POC demonstration tests are being conducted. There are many such cases. However, the expansion of size is difficult to estimate at this point in time. Question. Please briefly comment about the Olympic Games. How is that going to contribute to your revenues? Or are there any areas that is growing in this regard? Answer. We cannot specify one area that is making contributions in that regard. But we are keen to develop such businesses going forward in terms of projects, as well as other projects. But it's very difficult to quantify.
Question. This may be a follow-up to the earlier question. Increased demand for SI business, you mentioned. If there are any areas of business that are turning to be very brisk and robust in recent times, if you could care to comment on that. And how long will good performance continue for such business areas? My second question is as follows. Storage and ATM business in Japan are down, you said. Is this a reactionary fall vis-a-vis last year, or is that because of downsizing of the business or reduction in demand? Answer. To address your first question, well, SI being robust, SI is quite good in financial services industry, financial institution customers. Back in 2014 and 2015, they had many integration projects, and they have peaked out, we thought. And the clients in the financial services industry are being very proactive in looking at overseas projects, and they're being quite active in making investments overseas. So we're getting part of that business. And for the public sector business, back in years 14 and 15, my number system-related projects were at their peak. And even after those years, my number system-related business in the private sector increased. And so after we thought that there was a peak, we saw increasing demand in the private sector and other new areas, and active investment continues. So that is the reason behind the growth. With respect to storage and ATM in China, preferential policy for Chinese domestic companies, there's an impact from that. So volume is down for the storage business. As an overall trend, servers, storage, hardware business is on the decline. It will continue to shrink. That is the overall trend. So in line with that, in view of that, we need to narrow down on the hardware product lineup and shift resources, solutions, IoT. We need to shift resources to those new areas like solutions and IoT. And that is something that we started since last year. And the effect of that was one of the factors why this business was turned profitable. Well, just to add to that, ATM business in Japan, we had several major projects last year, so there was a reactionary fall this year because of that. Question about Saluaire. When synergies are generated, a Saluaire business will probably contribute to Lumada business. As an outlook, Saluaire contributing to Lumada business. Well, what is an idea, the timeline? Do you have a target by when you would like to see such synergies and contribution to Lumada? Answer. In terms of synergies, we will first see the synergies in air compressor business at Hitachi. So centering around air compressor business, we hope to see synergies. Saluaire is primarily a air compressor business, and we have the same business, and so cross-selling between the two is what we would like to achieve. So generating synergies in the air compressor business, that is something that we would like to pursue first and foremost. And in 2018, for Saluaire on a standalone basis, next fiscal year, on a full-year basis, we would like to see 50 billion, and our business 40 billion. So in 2018, with the two combined, over 100 billion yen in sales. That's what we would like to see. And industrial BU, IoT-related business, we have 4,000 clients, and leveraging that channel, with 4,000 clients, we would like to provide IoT Lumada solutions over time. So we set up the industrial division, and we will have industrial BU head as well as other heads of relevant divisions, and so that division will be setting the policy. A question. What is the timeline? Answer. In the next midterm plan, we would like to hammer out the specifics and pursue specific measures for that. Thank you.
Next question, please. A question. I have about 5 questions, but they are easy questions. You mentioned earlier that for the second half and beyond, the risk outlook was presented. There is a clarification I'd like to make. You mentioned geopolitical risks. You said that there are such risks, but in reality, it isn't as if there is no decline that you are seeing now. Correct. MHPS. Question, MHPS. I think this is very difficult to answer the South African situation. Please give us an update. Answer. Currently, we don't have a significant update to share with you at this current time. MHPS is a very important joint venture for Hitachi. And Mitsubishi Heavy Industries have in the past and will continue to be a very important partner for Hitachi. That is our understanding. Therefore, we would like to come to a solution in terms of price adjustment. When will this be clarified? Answer. It's very difficult to talk about the timeline in detail. Question. It seems difficult as is. Will you use ICC or external organizations to resolve this case? Question. At the time of integration, we agreed to the price adjustment mechanism process has been agreed to. So we should go back to the integration, receive the cost data, and make sure that detailed data should be obtained for further analysis. And that is how we'll engage in continuous consultation. So we will continue on this course. Question. Now, the risk buffer on an annual basis in terms of foreign exchange was having a positive impact. So may I understand? So you explained that there was an increase, further increase. But is it a buffer? Or are you going to have another round of restructuring reform, structural reform? Answer. Regarding additional restructuring, will be subject to review going forward. But currently, we have no plans of implementing anything that is significant. Question. It's a follow-up to our previous question. There was some answer provided already, but in terms of hardware or the IT platform, in terms of structural reform, business structural reform, please give me further details of what is being implemented. Answer. The hardware is shrinking in terms of servers as well as storage, especially for servers. According to the shrinking business, the development structure as well as the number of models will be subject to restructuring, and there will be reallocation of people, human resources as well. Furthermore, in terms of, we will also continue, we have conducted the consolidation of production bases, and the effect has been reflected this fiscal year. In terms of the result of business structural reform, it is having an impact of 8 billion yen realized in the first quarter. Question, my last question. For the first quarter, it might be too early to assess, but in terms of profit, inclusive of the midterm management plan, there are some areas that is falling behind. But for the first quarter, do you think that you have made one step higher in terms of your earning power? Answer. We have withdrawn from the low profit business, and we have implemented business structural reforms. And as a result, the hardware area of information telecommunication systems and social infrastructure industrial systems, the plant related area, have been subject to business structural reform ahead of schedules than what we have planned. By so doing, profitability has improved in these areas. In terms of SI for information and telecommunication systems, from the past, we have been thoroughly implementing project management. The phase gate approach has been taken, which is having impact, a positive impact. And that is the reason why we have been able to improve the profitability ahead of plan. Thank you.
Question. I would like to ask about how to read Lumada's sales numbers. So completely new demand, is that being generated or on top of existing demand that has existed, you're adding value added for Lumada and driving sales? Which is the case? Answer. The core business of Lumada is driven pretty much by new demand. Most of it comes from new demand. For Lumada's SI business, well, what is the percentage? It's hard to pinpoint, but Lumada is driving the business in a pretty large part of the SI business as well. Question. So the split between Japan and overseas, for Lumada Core and Lumada SI business, what is the actual split? And if you have an outlook for this fiscal year? Answer. For Lumada Core business, 80% Japan, 20% overseas. That is the split between Japan and overseas in the core business. For the SI business, question, what is the split for the SI business? Answer. We don't have the split or the breakdown at hand at the moment. Question, understood. So these numbers in the first quarter, 200 billion for the forecast, 950 billion. So in terms of the progress rate seen in the fiscal year, is it off to a good start? Is it performing well? For your business, globally speaking, Hitachi brand, its value can be increased through Lumada business. In that regard, Lumada is very important. And here in Japan, you may be able to gain a certain level of business, but the question really is how much global business you can gain through Lumada. It may be too premature to evaluate, but if you have an assessment you can share with us. Answer. Well, as was explained, we are exceeding the forecast progress. Our initial plan was a little under 20% in the first quarter, but the progress rate actually was 21+%. So actually, if we look at the numbers, Lumada business is above our initial plan. And going forward, we have to drive the business overseas even more. And delivery resources will have to be secured. For that, we have to reallocate employees. We have to conduct training. That is exactly what we're doing. So how can we secure such resources is going to be an important point, key to driving business overseas. Just to add to that, Lumada's SI business, the vast majority of that is in Japan. Just by area or segment, industrial systems 50%, social infrastructure and systems 20%. SI business, common infrastructure for SI, that's 20%. And the remainder 10% is in consulting. Well, we set it by area, but by segment, actually, the numbers are different. Social infrastructure and industrial systems, of 950 billion, that's 20%. And information and telecom, that's about 80%. Social infrastructure and industrial systems, well, part of that is included in information, and so if we do the math, 50%.
Question. First of all, I'd like to make a confirmation regarding 6.3%, the margin. This is the highest ever. Is it as a first quarter? Question. Thank you for the clarification. Now, next, in terms of operating profit margin, you have 13.3 billion. Profitability has improved. And in terms, which area contributed the most in terms of this improvement? And what is a source of improvement for the business segments that have contributed? Or in terms of area? Answer, in terms of areas. In terms of business area, there's 53.3 billion. Is it IT or is it infrastructure? Is that what you're asking? Or is it construction machinery? So it's just accumulation of numbers in terms of 533. So which has made the most significant contributions? It's not just operating profit improvement. Answer, we have reviewed the portfolio. That has an impact. Foreign exchange has an impact. If we exclude that, 53.3 billion. So let me give you the breakdown of that number. M&A related improvement increase of 3 billion in terms of business scale improvement. So revenues increase and profitability improved to 29 billion. For industrial area, cost has been reduced, and in the first quarter, the impact was 1 billion fixed cost. So revenue increase and fixed cost is reduced. That's 4.5 billion. And price increase on a net cost reduction, that's 16 billion. So that's a breakdown of the 53.3 billion yen. But you don't have the breakdown in terms of business areas? It's the breakdown of what you have implemented. Answer, in terms of segment, out of the 53.3 billion, organic, reorganization, impact, foreign exchange have been excluded from the following response. Mainly, it's information telecommunication system is 14.4 billion. Foreign exchange impact is small, and there is no portfolio impact, so the number is as is. In terms of social infrastructure and industrial system, 8.5 billion. And construction machinery, 14.3 billion. And electronic systems and equipment, it has been impacted by reorganization. But the remaining is 6.8 billion improvement. That's all in terms of the major changes. Thank you.
Question. Thank you for the presentation. Regarding lifestyle and eco systems business, I have a question. Sales reduction in electronics in the Japanese market you have experienced, but what is the detailed breakdown? We're having a hot summer, and so what is the business performance in recent months? And if you could share with us a forecast or outlook going forward as well, I'd appreciate it. Smart life and eco-friendly systems. To answer the question, some of the electronics products in the Japanese market, their sales are slightly down. And you may think that sales are down quite substantially, and it appears so because part of the products are sold and posted on a net basis. And so we adjusted the numbers to show the net numbers. So electronics, lifestyle products, some of the other products in this segment, smart life and eco-friendly systems, in the first quarter, the sales were rather sluggish. And operating income, we have reduced our cost, so we're trying to secure enough operating income in view of that. Question. For main white goods, what is the performance? What is the situation? Answer, I hope you'll understand, but we would like to refrain from giving you numbers product by product. Understood.
There seem not. There seem not. Then, there seems to be one more. A question. Regarding Lumada, you want to grow this business? You want to grow the core business overseas. That was in your explanation. Which areas are you targeting for growth? Which areas are growing? Please comment in the overseas market. Answer. It's worldwide, everywhere, but based mainly on in United States as well as Europe. SI business is mainly domestic, as you mentioned. So is it the core business that you are going to be developing your business overseas, and for the SI business will remain within Japan? Core business projects in the core are both Japan and overseas. We'd like to grow that alike. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then we would like to bring the meeting to a close at this moment. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.